and welcome to episode 6 of the Paper Crane Yarns Knitting Podcast. My name is Ashley. I'm coming to you from my dye studio here in Alabama. I am the knitter and dyer behind Paper Crane Yarns, which can be found on Instagram, Ravelry, and Etsy as Paper Crane Yarns. It's good to be back. I've been gone for another month. As far as YouTube goes, I do feel a bit rusty. Not that I was a pro before. I've only recorded 5 episodes before this, but yeah, going a month without talking to yourself into a camera in an empty room, you get a little rusty. So yeah, I have been gone. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably kind of already understand why, but I'm happy to be back. Gonna shake a little bit of this rust off, and I do have a lot to share with you guys as far as finished objects, so it's been a productive month, just a quiet one. So I am going to talk a little bit about some personal stuff at the very end, just a heads up, I suppose, if you want to jump out before we get there. Otherwise, I have some, like I said, some fun stuff to talk about, a lot of finished objects, some ideas for possibly a knit night with you guys, like a virtual knit night. I think would be really fun if we want to plan one of those. Yeah, some other announcements before I get started with the knitting. I am so excited to say that I am going to Rhinebeck in October. So I'll be at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival on Saturday, and I will be going to Indie Untangled on Friday. So if any of you guys are going and would like to meet up and say hi, my husband and I will be staying in New York from Thursday through Sunday, I think. So we will have plenty of time to hang out with you guys. If anybody wants to reach out and let me know, I would love to hear who's going to Rhinebeck. Maybe we can all coordinate something, or at least meet up while we're there. This will be my first time, so I'm really excited, and maybe some of you guys can show me the ropes. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to that. Like I said, I am in Alabama, and my husband and I will be driving all the way to New York. It's a 16-hour drive one way from here to there, so that'll be an interesting experience. Yeah, I'm not from Alabama. I grew up in a couple places, one of them being Hawaii, and my family's from California and Texas, so it's not unusual for me to travel this far. I mean, I've been out of the country. I'm really excited to travel this distance, but I've never driven for 32 hours before. It'll be fun. We have some stops on the way back planned. On the way up, we're pretty much cutting it as close as possible with when we leave and when we arrive to our place that we're staying. So we're not going to be able to make any stops on the way up. It's going to be basically a straight shot. Me drive 8 hours, him drive 8 hours. But on the way back, we are planning on stopping maybe in Philadelphia, or we haven't decided where. But anyway, we're really looking forward to it. I can't wait to get a lot of knitting done in the car when it's his turn to drive. So yeah, anyway, just let me know if you're going. I can't wait. And yeah, so a knit night. I would love to host a virtual knit night. I would love to do an in-person knit night here at my studio, but I don't know how many of you guys live locally, so a virtual knit night will suffice. I'm thinking maybe something closer to the evening. We can all have a drink together, or have some coffee and just knit for an hour or two. So leave a comment or reach out to me if you have, if you're interested. If there's enough people interested, then I'll go ahead and get it set up, and we can figure out a time and a date for when we'll be, most suitable. So yeah, I might just set something up and put it out there and just show up, even if it's like 3 of us. That'll still be fun. I don't have any knitting friends here locally. I've got one friend, my best friend, who crochets, but she kind of lives in the city, and I've moved out of the city, so it's a bit of a drive. So I would love to hang out with some of you guys. anything else? I don't have any updates for my shop currently. I took about as much time away from my studio as I did from YouTube to kind of recover from some personal stuff. So I still have plenty of ready to ship stuff in my Etsy shop that you could check out. And normally my setup, it would be right here behind me, like my yarn wall, but it's just too hot in that room right now. So I'm in the sewing room currently. But you can view everything that I have for sale in Etsy if you want to take a look there. And follow me on Instagram if you want to see my projects or my chickens or yeah, just anything I'm up to. I'm a little bit more, like I use my stories to kind of talk about maybe some interesting stuff in my days, and I usually only post on the grid with stuff that I have for sale that I've finished. So yeah. All right, should we talk about some knitting now? I will start with my one work in progress, and then the rest of what I have to share are finished objects. So speaking of Rhinebeck, I know it's tradition to have like a Rhinebeck sweater, and I've had mine picked out for a while now. It was just a sweater I wanted to knit before I knew that Rhinebeck was happening this year, and when I found out that it was, this definitely became my Rhinebeck sweater. So that is Alho, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, but it's by Anna Joanna, and here is a picture from the pattern of just some of the detail, but it is a beautiful sweater with that's fingering and mohair held together, and I'm doing the same colors that Anna knit for the pattern photo, which is like this mustard gold shade. I just started on this, I think maybe last night, and so I cast it on, or maybe the day before, but regardless, I haven't had too much time to work on it, but it's a top-down sweater, so I'm working on the yoke right now. I think I'm just about to hit the lace section, so I'm almost there, and I'm really excited for that. So the yarns I'm using are Holst yarn in the Rococo colorway, and this is Ito Sensai in mustard. Of course, this is my silk mohair, and I can't remember the fiber content. I mean, it's wool, it's sheep's wool, but I don't have a band with me, so I will have to link it below so you can take a look. But working with these has been lovely. Like it's mostly the color that has me so excited, and like I can't stop looking at it, but the texture is really interesting too. The Holst yarn is, if this makes sense, it's like, it feels very dry and not brittle, but kind of, but not in a bad way. Does that make sense? It's just nice. It's interesting to work with. And the Ito Sensai is actually also kind of dry compared to the mohair that I used for this sweater. It's a different kind of feeling. Like, it has the same halo effect, but the texture itself, I don't know if there's a difference in the silk content between this one and this one, but yeah, it feels kind of dry. But anyway, they're really both nice to work with, and I mean, these colors are gorgeous. They're very similar. This one is a little bit more brown, and this one's more of a true mustard. But yeah, here's a close-up. Oh, and the progress keeper that I'm using as a stitch marker here is, oh, let me turn it around. I've shown this before, but it is a bunny by Grizzly Knits. Oh, there you go. Anyway, it's lovely, and I think it really matches the project. So I have been loving working on this. I have a feeling it's not going to take me very long to knit, since it's the only thing I really have on the needles, and I definitely want to get it done for October. Today is August 1st, so I should have plenty of time. Yeah, that's my work in progress. So moving on to my finished objects, I have a little pile. The first being what is on my body right now. This is my sheer V sweater by Jessie May. It is made holding double Purl Soho Tussock in the pink fog colorway, and Anzula cloud in the Au Naturel colorway. So that's like a light fingering and then a lace mohair. But yeah, you've seen my work in progress with this. It's finally done. So I'll stand up and show you, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. Hopefully the camera will work with me here. Covered in mohair. But this is the sweater here is the sheer V panel. And then, so it's cropped. So I'm wearing it over a dress. And these are the sweaters. It's like a split bell sleeve. I might put in some more footage later where I'm not so close to the camera, but you get the idea. It's definitely more of a dressed up kind of sweater. It is like a light pink, kind of almost like a nude color as far as my skin tone goes. So it's really pink right up against my skin, but when held with like the white au naturel colorway, it kind of, you know, dulls it a bit. So yeah, I love this project. Just to talk a little bit about the process. When I first completed it, I was really kind of sad because I knit it to the length that the pattern called for the size, which is a small. I think that's the third size. I think there's extra small, and then small. But I knit it to the length, and before blocking, I was really disappointed because I think it was like up to, I mean, it was really up to here, like probably this long. And I just was not sure how I would ever wear that. It was, I don't know, it wasn't for me. But I blocked the body once before knitting the sleeves just to kind of get some encouragement along the way, because I really was feeling, I guess, insecure about the way that the project was going and that I wouldn't want to wear the finished object. So I blocked the top. That really helped, and it made me feel like I could keep going. Yeah, after blocking with the sleeves, I am definitely a lot happier with the project. It's much more the length that I was anticipating, and I mean, even the shoulders. If you look at all of the project pages in Ravelry, everybody's shoulders comes down onto their arm, and mine initially was probably up to here, so it was a lot tighter up onto my neck. But after blocking, I stretched the neck quite a bit. I brought the sleeve down. There's actually like a bump on the side that I kind of need to work out where I have the blocking pins, and I only have 4 of the foam blocking mats, so I can never fit an entire project very well. Like the sleeves never go on there all the way. Anyway, I need to get some more, but I kind of have to deal with a bump or 2 in the sweater. But yeah, I love it. It's very soft. This is my tea party sweater, I'm gonna call it. I can't wait to actually have somewhere to go to wear this. I might bring it to New York. Even if I don't wear it to one of the events, maybe I'll go to dinner and wear it or something. Yeah, I can't wait. Okay, moving on to my next finished object. So this is a little project that I started and finished since my last recording. I think I mentioned that I was planning on making a hat with the yarns that I used, but I think I was gonna go with a different pattern, and then I found this one. But all in all, this took me maybe a week of picking it up and putting it down, super quick. And I even knit it a little bit bigger than the pattern called for, so if I had stuck to the pattern, it would have taken even less time. Yeah, it was great to actually knit a hat. It's been a while since I've done so, and the only times I've knitted hats, it was in the beginning of my knitting journey, so they didn't come out really well. Oh man, speaking of which, I was gonna bring along that crochet sweater I mentioned that is so huge to show you guys. I'll have to show you in my next video. I think it'd be fun to do a video just showing you all of my like failures, because I keep everything. It's sort of like I also paint and do other art projects, and I always keep the mistake pieces or the ones I'm maybe not so proud of, because I think it's important so you can have that milestone marker, you can see your progress. And yeah, I think it's important for marking your growth and giving yourself encouragement maybe when you feel like things aren't going really well, or like you don't feel like you're making progress. If you look back on those old projects, it's like a wonder what it can do for you mentally and to get you to keep going. So anyway, I might do a video of some of those failures for fun. But yeah, so this is the holly hat by Claudia Q of EweKnitToronto. Wow, this looks so vibrant on the camera, and it's because it really is. The yarns that I used are, so I used Valley yarns in the red purple colorway, which is this one. Now these are 50-gram hanks that I got in. I purchased 2 of them. They were on clearance from Webs at some point. This is an untouched skein, so the hat that I knit took exactly 1 50-gram skein of the fingering weight. So yeah, this is a fingering weight. It's coming off a little bit more, I think, red here, but you get the idea. So this one's untouched, so I can make something else with that. And then the mohair I used, if you watched my last episode, I showed these in my acquisitions kind of segment, and I was talking about how I really was not happy with this mohair. It looked a lot different online when I purchased it from Webs, which, you know, monitors may vary. The color didn't look like this on the website, but it, you know, could have been my computer. Regardless, this was a, I think it must have been a discontinued yarn because I don't think it's on the website anymore. The brand is Sugar Bush, and this is their drizzle yarn. It's 76% super kid mohair and 24% silk, 25 grams, 219 yards. It's a very vibrant purple. It's called Monsoon Mauve, so I expected it to be a lot more, if it was gonna be purple, I thought it would be closer to this purple. This is just like electric purple to me. But anyway, it took about nearly an entire 25-gram ball of this. So those two together, I got this very vibrant purple beanie. The pattern I loved. It has you knit, I'll show you the full hat. It has you knit about 6 inches of a ribbed brim, and then you do about 5 inches of stockinette stitch. And I didn't carry a ruler around with me, so I just kind of kept going until I stopped, but I kind of wanted something a little bit slouchy, so it's okay that it's a little big. But you do a fold over brim and it really covers your ears really well. There's 2 sizes, and I did the larger size. I probably could have gotten away with a smaller one, but yeah, again, I like how slouchy it is. I just kind of have to play around with it to get it just right, since that double folded brim, it ends up just looking kind of huge. Like you can see in the back, I definitely have the excess, the slouchiness there, but you can kind of customize that. Oh, that looks silly. If you bring the brim up higher. But I do think it's really cute, and it's extremely warm. So for those 6 winter days we get in Alabama, this will be a good thing to keep me warm. Yeah, it's very, very bright. I'm gonna have to play around with it to get it to be exactly how I like it. I think if it was a different color, I wouldn't be as like unsure about it, but yeah, I'm gonna knit this again in probably the smaller size and in a more neutral color, but yeah, so that is my holly hat. All right, I'm having all kinds of camera issues, so I think I've had to go over this part a couple of times now. Let me just try to get through this with my mitten here. This is a Tin Can Knits pattern. It is very informative. If you are somebody who is new to knitting, or if you maybe want to try a new kind of knitting, if you haven't knit socks before, if you haven't knit gloves before, I would say try out this pattern. Like I said, if you haven't knit socks before and you want to learn a little bit about construction, This pattern obviously has you knit a gusset, but it's a lot less stitches and a little bit easier than maybe knitting a sock. So yeah, I recommend starting here. But it's a very cute, very simple mitten with some interesting detail here, and then the rest is garter. So I just need to use up the rest of some wool, and when I say that, it'll barely take any of this. I'll probably have enough left over to knit another one. Maybe I can knit a third one and have a backup. I always lose one of something when I have a pair. So yeah, I highly recommend this pattern. Really, really cute. I wish that Alabama would get cold. I say it on August 1st. I am a cold weather person, and I'm sure a lot of you knitters can relate. I'm ready for it. Okay, so my next finished object is a sweater pattern that I have been talking about since the beginning of my podcast journey. That would be my Novice sweater by PetiteKnit. And if you'd like to hear maybe some more in-depth information about this sweater, just go back to my earlier episodes. But the gist of it is that this was a redo of the first sweater I ever knit, and a lot of it is actually the same yarn. So this is the Drox Air in the Purl Gray colorway. But it's finally all done, you guys, and it only took me forever to knit this, when honestly this pattern, with like the weight of yarn, the size of the needle, and the simplicity of the pattern, if you're experienced enough, you could probably knit this whole sweater in a day or two. I know that because I have done it. It wasn't knit correctly, but I still did it. So yeah, if you want like a really quick and you want a knit that makes you just feel like, man, I'm good, then I recommend the Novice sweater. So I will put this on in a second, but I do want to just talk a little bit about it. So yeah, this is yarn that I frogged from my first sweater, plus I had leftover balls from when I initially purchased that yarn. I should have brought, see, this is the problem with podcasting not at home. If you forget something, then oh well. I should have brought the first sweater that I hadn't ripped out, like what was left that I hadn't ripped out, just to show you. It's basically just a vest. I only needed the 2 arms to get the sweater done. It looks ridiculous. I don't know what to do with it at this point. I don't really know if I'm gonna keep using that yarn for something else or what. It's not a whole lot. I mean, I could probably make a hat or something. So eventually maybe I'll do it. It's almost like having a sock blank. It's just like a vest at this point. But yeah, my modifications to this pattern, this is the size small, so the size 2. For the sleeves, I did double the decreases down here when you're supposed to do kind of rapid decreasing. You don't decrease at all for like the whole sleeve until you get to the cuff, but it was way too big, the amount of decreases that she has you do, so I just doubled it. I did the same decrease round twice to get it down to like a more suitable size for my wrist. Other than that, the only other modification with the ribbing at the bottom, I bound off with the needle that was used for the body rather than the needle that was used for the ribbing. And the reason being, when I knit the first one, I didn't want this to happen again with this pattern. When I knit the first one, the bind off for the ribbing was way too tight, and I think that was just a me problem. So I decided to try to bind off with a bigger needle to avoid that issue, because I didn't want it to be so tight that the rest of the sweater ballooned out. But I've gotten a lot more even and consistent with my bind offs and my cast ons, so I didn't really need to do that with this sweater, and now it kind of tents instead of balloons. Oh well, I mean, it's a big sweater, it's a big fluffy sweater, it's kind of like a sweater sweatshirt, so I'm okay with that. Yeah, so I think that's all my modifications. And now I'll pause the camera and do a costume change so that you can see it in action. Okay, so here it is. This is my gigantic Novice sweater. As you can see, there is a lot of positive ease, and oh my goodness, I am fluffy. Yeah, lots of positive ease in this sweater, but it's really lovely, and like basically the coziest thing you could put on your body. This is like wearing a cloud. Man, it looks a little silly. So my first one that I knit was a lot more fitted, but yeah, I'm okay with how this turned out. Who doesn't need like a gigantic sweater to just throw on? And you know, it's not like it just looks like I'm wearing a sack, because there's the beautiful, I mean, the stitch definition is lovely. The tight sleeves, I think, really make a difference. Like if I hadn't done a double decrease, I think I would not be so happy with the really baggy sleeves on top of the major positive ease in the body. But then of course the yoke, this is so simple, you know, these are just the increases, but it really makes a huge difference in the overall appearance of the sweater and the look and the feel. So yeah, I'm really happy with this project now that I've redone it, so I'm glad that I did. I'll kind of stand up, and again, I'm a little close to the camera, so I don't know how well this will get it across, but anyway, I am wearing it over a dress. Maybe if I come back here. So yeah, lots of positive ease, but very cute. There's the back. So that is my Novice sweater. It's hot in here, you guys. Okay. She says before taking a sip of hot coffee. I'm near the end of my finished objects, so I'll just be a little chatty now. This coffee is roasted by my husband and me. Just a little bit more about what we do. We roast our own coffee, and I just roasted this batch yesterday morning. It's a lighter roast, and it has a really lovely flavor. If you've never had fresh roasted coffee, I would say run out and try it right this second, but you might never be able to go back, and now you've just signed up for a whole new hobby. But you know, if you're interested in roasting coffee, I say go for it. We just initially purchased, you know, a big 5-pound bag of green beans online. No, actually, it started with one of my best friends. He roasts coffee, and he sent me a batch that he had just roasted that was absolutely delicious. But with it, he sent some of the green beans, and so we roasted that in a pan on the stove first, which was so delightful. We knew we'd have to do it again. And there have been times where there's been thunderstorms outside and we didn't have any coffee, and we had the green beans, so my husband set up a fire on the grill outside in the rain. Our power must have been out, and he roasted coffee over a fire in a cast iron pan, and by the end of it, I think he said that like all of his arm hairs were gone because it took so long to roast it, and again over the fire with like the shortest handle you could imagine. That man, he gets into some interesting situations. But yeah, now we have an actual legit coffee roaster that we got from a trade. One of our neighbors on our street, he actually is the owner of a coffee shop that's right by my studio, and his whole family, they're really sweet. But my husband, he does a little bit of woodworking for cosplay, and he gave him a gift and like of a staff that he made for his to put in his coffee shop. And so he commissioned him, the neighbor commissioned my husband for one for his wife, and at the end of it, instead of my husband didn't really care about the money, you know, he loves doing it for fun. So the guy actually gave us one of his old coffee roasters, like a smaller one, as a trade. So it was really cool, and now we're really spoiled because we can just plug this thing in, put it to the settings, and we have freshly roasted coffee without the singed arm hairs at the end. Yeah, anyways, that's what I'm drinking, and it's delightful. Okay, one more finished object that is knitting. I do have one sewing project to show. Okay, so yeah, my last finished knitted object is one that I am so thrilled with. You've again seen this before. It has been finished for a while now, but you know what? Come to think of it, I don't remember if I already showed this on the last podcast. I don't remember if I had this done, and now I feel silly. That's how long it's been since I last recorded. But if I did have it finished, I didn't get to show it really well, so I can at least do that now, and we'll just pretend like I know what I'm talking about. That is my Knights Who Say Knit Mystery Knit Along by Lyrical Knits. So here is my mile-long rectangular shawl. It's huge. My wingspan is not wide enough to hold this out for you, but it's gigantic. You can see the lace with my wall there. So I'm gonna put this on and show you what it looks like. So here is my Knights Who Say Knit by Lyrical Knits. I haven't quite figured out how to wear this, or like with what yet. I think over this dress, it looks good. Oh goodness. Look at all the fuzz that you get from that sweater. But anyway, I do think that with this dress, it looks pretty good. So here it is. It's more of like a shawl. So there's a couple different ways that you could wear this, and it really is just gorgeous. It's a lot of different colors that are not really usually my colors. I love black, but normally I like cooler tones. I still really appreciate this color palette though, and like I've mentioned in other episodes, this is my hand-dyed yarn, but it's based off of the kits that Miss Babs Yarn curated for this Mystery Knit Along. So this is on 75/25 merino nylon fingering. All right, I think I'll do the rest of the episode without any kind of knits on because it is so hot in my studio, and this might not need to be said, but just a quick note about my tattoos. I know there are some people who are maybe sensitive about tattoos. I will say I've had mine for a long time and I haven't gotten anything recently, but while I do think they're beautiful, I know some people are a little bit more sensitive, so I don't usually show them here, but anyway, moving on. Oh, I do have one sewing finished object to show you, and I'll just kind of hold it up. I haven't tried it on yet since I hemmed it, but I will try it on after I'm done with the sit down portion of this and get some footage if I like it. Let me grab the pattern holder so you can see what it is. So this dress is a Simplicity pattern. This is S9122 and it's called Dottie Angel. So it's this very eclectic looking, almost like an apron dress. I kind of think of it like a modern day sort of peasant dress. I don't know, it's really interesting. I'm sure you can see why I was attracted to the pattern. I made View C, which is the dress on the model, and yeah, this was fun to sew. So anyway, here's my version. It's a very eclectic sort of dress. So it has these tucks on the side with ties that go around. And the cool part is that this uses multiple types of contrasting cotton. So that's fun because there's so many interesting cottons out there that I normally would only be able to use for things like bags, but I always wish I had a garment. And so this is like a fun way to get to use up some of that fabric in interesting ways. Maybe not everybody's taste. I don't really know where I'll wear this, but it's pretty cool. So the bottom is contrasting and so are the pockets. Overall, it's a really interesting style and I can't wait to wear it with some boots in the fall, and yeah. So I'll try to insert some footage of me trying this on. gonna throw this sweater back on so I don't feel quite as naked. So yeah, that pretty much covers what I've been working on and everything I've been up to. I hope you enjoyed my knitting content, and I can't wait to bring you more. I don't have a whole lot of other projects planned at the moment other than my Alho sweater. There's lots of things I would like to make. I guess you could count a pattern that I just got as an acquisition. I got Andrea Mary's Birds of a Feather pattern. That is a beautiful shawl pattern that uses, again, mohair. I can't get enough mohair recently. It's mohair and fingering singles, and it's like alternating. So you've got these long stretches of mohair panels. If you haven't seen it, you should go down below and click on the pattern. It's gorgeous, and I have a color palette in mind. I don't know if I'll be using my hand-dyed yarn or if I'll be buying some. I thought it might be fun when I go to New York in October and I'm buying untold amounts of yarn. That might be a project that I buy for. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll keep you guys updated on my plans. Other than that shawl and one other shawl that I'm gonna be knitting with like the linen yarn that I mentioned in my last episode. My sweater is really the only project I have. I'll do some socks, I'll finish my mitts, but yeah, I gotta figure out some other big projects, maybe to focus on more for the end of the year. I'm sure going to New York and going to Rhinebeck will inspire me quite a bit once I see what everybody else is wearing. I'm sure I'll want to knit everything. I do want to knit a Soldotna crop. I have, and that's by Caitlin Hunter, I have some yarn in my stash that I think would be a fun Soldotna. I wish I had time, and maybe I will, but I wish I had time to knit that before Rhinebeck with my Alho sweater, so I could wear one day and the other day. The yarn I have in my stash, maybe I'll show it next time. It's actually the first ever bare yarn that I got when I first wanted to become a dyer. My husband, he got me started. He knew I had been talking about it for a while, wanting to dye yarn, and so he surprised me with some like organic merino, and it was in a DK weight. He got me quite a bit, plus some starter dyes. So I kept all of those for my own personal stash since they're kind of sentimental and special. But yeah, I have some fun colors that would probably make a beautiful Soldotna in that DK. So yeah, thank you for watching my knitting talk. And I just want to wrap up with a little bit of a personal note. If you saw my last episode, and I'm glad I'm to the point where I can talk about this now, and this is why I was gone for so long. If you saw my last episode, I made a really special announcement for myself that I was pregnant with my first baby. It was pretty much right after that I found out that I had a miscarriage. So I am no longer pregnant. And this is definitely a trigger warning. Turn it off if you don't want to hear about this. I don't know how much of this I'll end up sharing in this babble that's about to come out, but I did want to just get that out there because I obviously made a very untimely announcement when I thought everything was safe and going well, and I'm still receiving really lovely comments on that video and different messages of congratulations, and I so appreciate that. And especially when I first published the video and I hadn't had the miscarriage yet, everybody's support and comments just lit up my life. It was such a happy thing to share with everybody, and I really appreciated how everybody was so positive and loving toward me about it. But yeah, I wanted to get this announcement out there just to say I would appreciate if the messages stopped, only because it's every time it's like another reminder, and it's a very sad thing for me. That baby was planned. My husband and I both really wanted that baby, and unfortunately this time around it was not a successful pregnancy, but we're hopeful for the future. So yeah, the long and short of it is I actually had what is known as a missed miscarriage, which I had not heard of until it happened to me. I went into the hospital for my 12-week appointment, and unfortunately I learned that the baby had passed away at my 12-week appointment, which is, you know, most people, if you ask them like when is a good time to announce your pregnancy, 12 weeks is normally when they say, like, go right ahead. And I think when I made my announcement I was at maybe 11 weeks, so I was really close, and I felt pretty good about it because my last appointment they said everything looked perfect, and I mean the heartbeat was beautiful, it was exactly what it needed to be, the growth rate was, you know, right on cue, and nothing seemed abnormal. So I thought, you know, I wanted to share this happy news, mostly because it was going to have some impact on my knitting. Like my sheer V that I was wearing at the beginning of the podcast, I didn't think I was gonna get to actually wear it by the time it was done, because I knew, you know, it was a very fitted sweater and the baby bump would have kind of altered that. And actually this sweater, as much as I was a little bit apprehensive about how oversized it was, I thought that it would be great for the winter when I was gonna be 6, 7, 8, 9 months pregnant, to really fit in the baby. And but yeah, so I found out I had a miscarriage. My baby actually passed away at, according to the measurements they took, at week 9. So it was right after my 8th week ultrasound. But my body thought that I was still pregnant, so I was still developing like I was pregnant, and you know, I had no way of knowing that my baby had passed away. So it was a really traumatic experience for me. I took time off work, and I also, and this was probably due to the stress as well as being maybe exposed in a hospital, because I had to have a procedure. Since my body didn't naturally miscarry, I had to have a procedure as a result. And so I think, you know, the recovery, the stress and everything, I got extremely sick for like a week on top of everything, and my dog fractured my nose. So it was not a good week over here for myself by any means. And anyway, I'm much more on the road to recovery. In the physical sense, I'm finally, I think, recovered. Emotionally, it's always going to be with me, but I have come to understand it and accept it a bit more than I had at first, probably because I know that there's still hope, and you know, there's always tomorrow. I know that, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibilities for me. I just turned 25 in June, so I'm, you know, pretty young as far as having a baby goes. I think it'll be okay, and hopefully in the future I'll get to share that news again, and it will be a positive, happy thing once again. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you've stuck out to this this part of the podcast, hopefully I haven't made any of you sad, or you know, brought you down, or made you relive anything that you've experienced. But yeah, because I shared publicly, I felt like I needed to share this part of it as well. But I do appreciate all the support. I mean, so many relative strangers, you know, like people who I've only interacted online with, messaged me and sent me beautiful thoughts and prayers in my time of need. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully next episode will be a little bit more cheery to end off with. So yeah, I guess I need to stop rambling. To end on a positive note, let me know if you'd be interested in a knit night. I would be happy to host that. I think it'd be fun for us all to have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee together, and just to work on some projects and get to know each other better. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in episode 7. Check out my Etsy shop if you would like to purchase my hand-dyed yarn or the notions and knitting bags that I make. Follow me on Instagram for some more day-to-day projects and interaction there. Send me a message if you want to talk. And thank you for watching. Okay, see you next time. Bye.